Welcome to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Of course, this is one of our marquee shows of the week. It's Miami Hurricanes Live. It's our 30th edition, but we have, of course, had many more conversations than that with Cam Underwood from State of the U, but 30 consecutive weeks with Miami football talk on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern time, with the Canes coming off a huge win that salvaged their season in regards to a Coastal Division championship race in November, with a win at home against Virginia. Cam, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. Just hanging out. So got my built off hate. Sure, you can't see. There it goes. So you see the U, in there, built off hate, because we were built off of hate because people want to hate us. But yeah, man. So I'm just here to hang out, talk some football, and kick it.
So before we get to the game, Cam, you just enlightened me to something that is rather interesting. Rather interesting, funny, fun. We congratulate you for whatever the decision or the selection process was. So you got to fill us in on this honor that was bestowed upon you.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you were at the game last week, the Virginia game on Friday, I went with a friend of mine. Shout out to Sandra for inviting me many a time to sit with her. She has seats on the field level in the end zone and everything. So I finally decided that I was going to take her up on her offer and go to the game. And, when I get to go as a fan, I like to fan, I like to yell and scream and react to the game as I see it and things like that. And, I get to be pretty effusive, and things. And there was a couple of game day operations staff, sophomores at the U, James and Evan, I think were their names. If I got the names wrong, forgive me, gentlemen, but I only met them shortly. But yeah, I guess they follow me on Twitter. They know about the website. They know about this show right here. And they came over with their hair on fire. They're like, oh, we got to find, we saw I posted a picture and everything. So they came over to me early in the game and they were like, hey, we want to make you the Dunkin' Donuts high energy fan of the week and everything. And I had to think about it, honestly, because I'm not that person. Like I was a musician, I sing in groups and things, but I never wanted to be Beyonce, or I didn't want to be Gladys Knight. I wanted to be the Pips. You know what I mean? Like it put me in a group, any vocal group in the world, and I'm world class. But solo stage, center stage by myself, that spotlight, I never wanted that. And I was like, man, so even retelling this, like my adrenaline's going, my heart is pumping. And I was sitting next to Sandra and I told them, give me a minute. And she was just like, yo, like, you're probably not going to sit down here with me again. You're never going to get asked to do this again. So just go do it. Like, make it a once in a lifetime experience and go. And if you look on my Twitter, go through my favorites, I have like a bunch of pictures and videos that people put up, even on the good, the bad, and the ugly, which I put up on Sunday morning for a Friday night game because I was at the game and then was hungover because in the field level suites, you got free beer all night long. So I took heavy advantage of that. I put in one of the pictures and the video that Sandra took of me over there. But yeah, I was the Dunkin' Donuts high energy fan of the week. I honestly blacked out kind of when I was out there. I don't know. I did some stuff. I said some stuff. Honestly, I was just trying to think of what my boy Ricky DePrince would do in a similar situation, and just went ham with it, threw up the U, beat my chest, doing the whole thing, just exuding this kind of energy. So, I mean, it was dope, though. I got to be on the field, right? I was in the corner of the end zone when N'Kosi Perry threw that fade to KJ Osborne that barely went off his fingertips. That was like literally coming like directly to my lap. I was probably 2 steps away from being on the screen then. And actually, I think that they saw me because the screen pass to DJ Dallas, the first touchdown, it came directly to our seats, or where I was sitting with Sandra. And so you see me over here like pumping it up with and everything, or this fist pump. So they saw that, I think, and then they came over and they found me. And so, yeah, I got to go on the field. I've been on fields before, even on that field. But, yeah, I got to do that. I was the Dunkin' Donuts high energy fan of the week. Got a nice gift card to Dunkin' Donuts for that. And, my phone went crazy when I was out there. Everybody I know was texting and DMing and tweeting me. It was a lot of fun.
You had an unfair advantage. The selectors knew who you were.
Yeah, they did. I totally did. Yep. So they apparently, my reputation preceded me, and they were like, hey, yeah, you are the guy, you have the energy that we want on the field. I know other guys and other people, guys and gals, of the Canes fam who have been on the field for that before. But, you know, usually when I'm at the game, I'm not usually paying attention to that ceremony thing. But they kind of came back to bite me then because I was like, oh, God, what am I supposed to do? And like, honestly, like I have this personality and like you know, I'm comfortable with you and I'm comfortable on a microphone and like in certain situations. But like that was very much outside of my zone of comfort. Like that was very much pushing my personal boundaries. But in the end, it's a once in a lifetime story. I really appreciate Sandra for pushing me to do it. I appreciate the guys for asking me to you know, to be out there and do that and, you know, just represent myself and the fan base well and everything. So I mean, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, you can go check it out on Twitter. Even somebody today posted another video and was like, "Oh, like it was Cam out there," and I'm like, that was me, bro. So yeah, it was a lot of time. It was a good time.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm glad that you took your friend's advice and made the most of the opportunity and the experience.
Oh, absolutely. Ditto. Exactly. You know, like I said, it's a once in a lifetime thing. I know that I won't be asked to do that kind of a thing again, but it was a lot of fun. Glad I did it.
And then who knows what the experience would have felt like had you come away with a loss. You would have had that highlight, but losing effort.
Yeah, but it's still one of those things. It's process over result, you know. And it did take some convincing to go with that process of going out there and doing that thing. But you know, win or lose for the game, I think that I made a right decision. And you know, when I taught, I always told my students that greatness happens outside the bounds of your personal comfort. You know, that's where you really touch into something, because if you were always that great, it would be easy for you, or it would be that consistent thing. But, you know, sometimes you have to push your boundaries. You know, you have to go and do these things. You know, like I said, I went to Amsterdam by myself on a lark for a week, you know, so I'm trying to push my own boundaries in a number of different ways. And this was just another step on that. And it was cool. And, you know, just seeing people just be like, oh, hey, that was you. Come back to the stands. Everybody's like, oh, shit, that was you. You know, so it was fun.
Yeah, it's a fun story. And there's a lesson to be learned, as Cam just outlined, for all of us, because as I have this conversation on a regular basis with a friend of mine, I will say, yes, there are many examples in life, both at the human level and throughout nature, that growth is sometimes not the most comfortable process. But without stretching yourself, there is no such thing as growth. Okay. The philosophies of life we'll put aside. We'll focus on football now. And what would be, to me, the biggest Miami win since sometime in 2017?
Probably Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that was the week before things fell apart. Shout out to Achebe with the game at Pittsburgh, and then everything after that. Yeah, because that was 10-0, and then we lost the 11th game because we had one game canceled that year. So yeah, the biggest win since Notre Dame 2017. You know, that's a ranked team down here at Hard Rock Stadium, and yeah, you know, it was hard fought. You know, it wasn't perfect, and that's the thing that I want everybody to know. You know, out of everything out there, it was not perfect, but Miami found a way, and it looked like what I thought the beginning of the year was going to look like, with a really strong defense, a developing offense that capitalized in a couple of instances, but wasn't consistent to the level that I think anybody would have liked. But yeah, you know, beating Virginia, you know, it was a big game. Obviously, you know, if you lose that game, you're completely out of the running for the ACC Coastal. Now you're in the running. Obviously, you need some help with both North Carolina and Virginia needing to lose again. But yeah, man, it was a big game, big win. Needed that. And before I go on to say anything else, you know, just prayers up to Bryce Hall, the stellar All-American cornerback from Virginia, broke his ankle. This got rolled up on a punt return. So, you know, he's a senior. His career's over. His college career, I should say. So he's going to go on to the NFL and everything. But, you know, he was injured in the second quarter or third quarter, I want to say. You know, it's something that you don't like to see. Like, I never root for injuries for any team. Even teams that I hate the most out of anybody. So to see somebody of admitted high caliber and character that every single person has said, you know, Caroline Darney, who's one of my SB Nation bosses who went to Virginia, she writes, she's one of the league managers, but she also contributes to the Virginia website. She's spoken in glowing terms of him. Everybody who contributes to Streaking the Lawn, our SB Nation brothers over with Virginia, and every draft analyst that I've read has just really extolled Bryce Hall as a person. And so you really hate to see those kind of things. It was, I saw one Virginia fan trying to say that was an intentional injury. You can go to hell, straight up. It was a random incident on a punt return. It wasn't anybody diving for anybody's leg, not out there trying to injure anybody. But like I said, prayers up for a recovery and hopefully a long and healthy NFL career for a great player and, by all reports, a great person in Bryce Hall.
Miami wins it over Virginia 17-9. And as we outlined last week, all you had to do is do the metrics and the math of the division standings. And if Miami had lost that game, Virginia was off and running. And certainly there would be other teams that would be capable of catching them, but at a virtual 4-game deficit, that would not include Miami. But now we've got a situation with the Canes with 2 losses, Virginia with 1. If the Cavaliers go down once and Miami's able to stay clean, then they would win the tiebreaker, at least against the Cavaliers. So it's a division race once again. So let's go to the good points of the game that included holding Bryce Perkins and company to 9 points. They drove it up and down the field. Not that they gained a ton of yardage or anything, but they were in scoring position a number of times. I know that the stat was at one point in the game, I think 6 trips into the red zone and 3 field goals. Well, that's all they had were the 3 field goals. So they certainly had their opportunities, but still, it wasn't like they gained 500 yards but only kicked 3 field goals. 252 passing, 74 rushing. So it was a stellar effort for the Miami defense, top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. This looked like a Miami Hurricanes team. This looked like what the team I envisioned to look like under Manny Diaz. Just defense getting after it all day. Gregory Rousseau, when his first start, 6 games into the year, I don't know why it took to 6 games to start this man. And I mean, again, I'm just saying that on the strength of his play. I know that there's people who say, oh, well, insert player here. I'm not even calling anybody else's name. All I'm saying is number 15 needs to start. Period. Pointblank.com. He's already 7th in the ACC in sacks. And he was playing 10 to 15 to 20 snaps in games. What are you talking about? Like, what are we doing? But you finally put him out there, had that big stop on 4th down, had a couple sacks, tackle for loss. He's all over the place. He's a 6'6", 6'7" pterodactyl with arms at, 8.5-foot wingspan and all this kind of stuff. Like, that's a dude. That's a dude you need to build this team around, not bring him on slowly. And look, he's making if you're talking about every position is always up for contention, this man's making the plays. Play him. And you finally play him and you see what happens. Shaq Quarterman playing a lot better. Michael Pinckney playing better. In the secondary, you're largely playing well. You get a couple of things. DJ Ivey slips on a pass and they get 50 yards right before halftime and they get a field goal instead of being shut out in the first half. You have one of those things. There was one drive. They went to the back shoulder fade or these 50-50 jump balls. And I had flashbacks to what was that, 2017 Orange Bowl against Wisconsin when they caught every contested ball and just Moss dudes just, give me that. Like it was easy. And I'm like, I had flashbacks to that because that happened for a good few couple throws in a row. But yeah, man, the defense played really, really strong. Really proud of those guys, just stiffening when you needed to hold them. You hold them to 4 field goal attempts. You block the first one clean, which is awesome. Obviously Miami came down on the first drive, scored a touchdown, which tilts the game in their favor a little bit. You didn't really think that 7 points was going to hold up. But as the game wore on in the first half, you're like, this 7 points, it looked like it was going to be 7-0 going into the half. And that touchdown looked to be a insurmountable kind of obstacle for Virginia to overcome because, Miami really wasn't letting Bryce Perkins, the quarterback, cook like that, things like that. So, there was a lot to like. There were things not to like. Nkosi did miss a couple throws. He overthrew Mike Harley on a slot fade, which is the same route that he hit to Brevin Jordan for the game winner against Florida State. A little bit of a longer distance, but he overthrew Mike Harley, which you have a faster guy, I would think that connection should be able to work on literally the same route from the same alignment. You miss KJ Osborne on a post, who was the fourth player on that progression, but came butt naked wide open. And I know Nkosi, his eyes just got big. He said, "Ooh," and he just, he zipped it maybe a little bit too hard. But it's one of those ones, and I was watching him because his back was to us, so they were going to the opposite end zone, and he threw that ball, and you just see him jump up and down like, oh, like as soon as he threw it, because he knew he put too much on it. But that's okay. These are things that we can develop. And for everybody who wants to say something contrary, all I'm going to say is I'm giving Nkosi Perry the same kind of grace for development that you give to Jaron Williams, which I also give to Jaron Williams. That maybe he can hit some of these deeper shots. Maybe he can do some of those other things. But I find it curious when people say that Jaron can develop and Jaron can potentially do these things that he's not doing right now, but Nkosi cannot develop and cannot do the things that he's not doing right now. I find that dichotomy telling to you and what you believe. And everybody knows that I'm a Nkosi Perry fan, but I'm here to support the best quarterback. That's it. So I think that Nkosi could develop. I think that he's earned the right to continue to be the starter. And he is going to start this week's game. So, a lot to like. DJ Dallas, he had a strong game. Not as many rushing yards as you would like, but 63 on 13 carries. Okay. Nkosi Perry ran for 20 yards on 9 carries. Obviously you take away sack yards, so he really ran for like 40-something, I want to say. And then you just have guys making plays, and I need that last tackle to get broken. You know what I mean? Like Mark Pope up the sideline. Like he breaks a tackle and then a guy gets him by a shoelace. Like all these dudes have been caught by like a shoestring this year. And at some point they're going to break out and they're not going to get caught by those. But yeah, there were a lot of things to like, a lot of things not to like. 42, 45 total yards of offense in the second and third quarters combined. That's not good enough. But, you book in that with a strong first quarter, first drive, a strong fourth quarter, game-winning drive, Nkosi pulling it down and running it in like I told you he should have did against Virginia Tech the week before when a pass play broke down, things like that. There were some really questionable play calls, speed option to the short side of the field on 3rd and 1 a couple of times, so I know that I'm almost talking in circles, so I'm going to get to this question that's on the screen. But there were things to like, there were things not to like. But overall, when you beat a ranked team at home, a tough team like Virginia in this year, you can't help but feel good, even though there are things to still develop and improve moving forward.
Yeah, Endo Gaines is on the line. We thank you so much for the contribution. Just basically a comment here. You went down there and done it now. You have to have the energy every game since you helped Miami beat a ranked team before Willie did. I
mean, the proof's in the pudding. So, the athletic department, the staffers over there, they got my email address. They know my number. Call me.
That's it right there. So we talk Miami football each and every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time. So we encourage you to encourage your friends, people in your family that love college football, not just Miami. We've got all sorts of fans on here, but obviously Miami fans first and foremost, to join the party each and every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time. The thing that I like about watching Nkosi Perry in comparison to Jaron Williams is even when he sails one or makes a bad decision, he looks convinced that this is the throw that should be made. There's no hesitation. He just looks like, bam, cuts loose, bam, and he's going. And he's just firing the ball downfield, and he looks convicted on every throw that is the throw to make.
I mean, you have to have conviction to be a good player. You cannot be questioning yourself. Now, you might make some mistakes, which Nkosi has. I mean, look, we've seen Jaron make mistakes. We've seen Ken Dorsey made mistakes. But you have to go confidently into the direction of your dreams. You had to see that throw, know what the play call is, know what your progressions are, and you're going to cut it loose. But even today after practice, when Nkosi Perry was talking to the assembled media, he was talking about or asked, what has been his big development. And he said, just trusting the pocket and not escaping because, that play to KJ Osborne, I see the question, JT Sounds, we're going to get to you in a second. But that throw to KJ Osborne, that was the 4th person in the progression. And you see him look 1, 2, 3, and you're looking low to high and seeing if it comes open late. And he did, and then he cut it loose. Nkosi last year, he's not making it to 4 in the progression. He might have made it to 2. 1, 2, I'm out. Bye. So him staying in the pocket and trusting that pocket is a big thing. And then, like he also said, he's working on his touch, because when you have a big arm, it's easy just to use it. At the high school level, Optimus in 7-on-7, I can throw the ball through a brick wall. Okay, it doesn't matter what it looks like. I'm going to pick a guy, and I'm going to throw him the ball, and I'm going to fit it in there because that's what my arm lets me do. Now he's saying, okay, he can do that sometimes, like that throw to Jeff Thomas, the throw before the game winner to Brevin Jordan against FSU last year. He can fit the ball into a tight window, but he's also learning, other trajectory throws and how to, throw a little bit of a changeup. It doesn't have to be the 112-mile-an-hour heater all of the time. And I think that we're seeing that, but like most players, and especially a redshirt sophomore who's only 20, not even 21 years old yet, he's still developing. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, he's being very decisive this year with both his throws and his decisions to run. That first drive on 4th down, pressure came from the right. He felt it, boom, exited left. That last touchdown, he looked around, 1, 2, 3. Now I gotta go. He is going in a decisive manner with his plays, and I like that.
I want to remind people that, and this is in response to generally there being many complaints, but I know that there have been at times of me not posting certain comments or questions onto the screen. So basically, you understand the math is that I can't get all the comments and questions to the screen just in regards to the math of the number of comments that come in, whether it be 500, 600, 700 during a 60-minute show, number one. Number two, again, as I apply and transmit and transfer the comments from the stream on through the application to the screen. Once I do that, I kind of set a bar where I can only go back about 10 comments before that. So I kind of lose the rest of them. I definitely do lose the rest of them. So I apologize for that. So we appreciate the comments, the questions, and certainly if yours doesn't get posted to the screen, there are reasons why. JT Sounds is asking about Justin Flo, an official visit for the Louisville game.
So what are the chances with Justin Flo, with him locked in for an official visit? I still say very low, honestly. Again, Miami's competing against Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, and I forget who the other one is, maybe USC, because he's a California kid. And, there could be a team like a Texas A&M who wants to pop up, maybe in Oregon, because they recruit really well with Mario Cristobal and everything. So we'll see. But this is a step along the path, and we will see where this leads. I think that a 3-3 start is really prohibitive for a player of his caliber. So I think it's going to take a yeoman's recruiting effort by the entire staff to get Justin Flo to actually commit to the University of Miami. I'm also interested to see what his preferred number means in that pursuit as well, because the number 10 is retired at the University of Miami for George Myra Sr. for many years, and that's the number that Justin Flo wears. So I don't know if him being able to wear his, his iconic number now in high school, at least, that number is going to get retired at Upland High School in California, the number 10 that he wears. I don't know if that plays a factor in there. And that's just me as a person, not even a connected recruiting blogger or anything. That's just me, Cameron, thinking, hey, I wonder what that is or what that means to him in this pursuit. But like I said, and I've written in the recruiting rules and I've said before, it takes at least 2, if not 3 visits for a 5-star out-of-state player to be considered a real option in anybody's recruiting class. You need to see a camp, an unofficial, and an official visit. I think this is number 2 for Justin Flo. So it is in the realm of possibilities, but I still think he's going to Clemson 100% until I hear otherwise. But stranger things have happened. 5 stars have flipped late in the process. Everybody knows I used to work at Miramar High School. Everybody knows that Tracy Howard was going to the University of Florida until he took that last weekend official visit to Miami and then changed his mind. I did not speak to Tracy or his brother or his mother or his father, all people who I had interacted with at Miramar to that time. P.S. Rest in peace to his father. He passed away, I think, like a year and a half ago. But I did not speak to them before that. And I said, he's coming to Miami. And people called me all kinds of names. And then he ended up coming to Miami. Tracy Howard, that is a 5-star player, top 20 player in the class. So things have happened. I've not necessarily seen it with out-of-state guys like Justin Flo. And I mean, Justin Flo is like a top 3 player in the country overall. So still a tough road to hoe, still a huge mountain to climb there, but it's a step in the right direction, getting him down for an official visit, get him down, show him a good time, shoot our shot, win a game, and then we'll see what happens.
Corey, Jeff, thank you so much for the contribution. We appreciate it. Thank you, Cam and Mark, as always. Love this show. Go Canes. So I want to remind everyone that you can contribute to what we do here in a number of ways, simply by liking the video. That helps the algorithms of YouTube and helps push us to better places in regards to recommended videos and attracts more people into the audience. And why does that matter? You may figure, hey, as long as I'm watching, what do I care if there's 10 people watching or 1,000 people watching? Well, you should care, because the more encouragement we get from you, the more influence we can gain and more people we can get on here, and the more probability that we can sustain this and it can thrive and grow and we can continue to do this. Cam's got a full-time job. He runs a major website, and he does this for us each and every week as well. All right, so thank you so much, Corey, Jeff. And there have been a ton of you that have encouraged others in the live chat to like and subscribe and do all those good things. And I've not been able to grab your comment and get it to the screen, but know that I see them, and thank you so much. All right. So you mentioned DJ Dallas, 13 carries. It was the type of game that you would imagine that he would have gotten more carries than that.
Not really, honestly. Miami,
No?
Let me see. Miami ran 52 plays, so he carried the ball a quarter of the time. Like 1/4 of the plays were him running the ball. But I mean, there was just a lot of time where Miami was not able to really get the things going on the ground. So, I mean, you try it. First down, you run inside, don't get much. Second down, you try it, don't get much. Third and long, got to pass the ball, try to, maybe get a sack, maybe get a short completion, things like that. I mean, in a perfect world, there would have been more carries for DJ Dallas, yes. But the way that this game went, it really didn't lend itself to that. I mean, and you have a 50-50 run pass ratio almost. So 27 passes plus 3 sacks means you called 30 pass plays and 22 run plays. But again, you only had 52 plays to work with. And out of those, he ran the ball a quarter of the time, and he also had 2 catches on screen passes. So he touched the ball on 15 out of your 52 plays. That's a lot. But when the offense isn't actually working and gaining yardage, then that takes down the top number and everything. So now if we converted some of these third downs, Miami, again, I'm looking at the stat sheet again, 2 out of 10 on third. You convert some of those thirds, you get an extra, if you convert 3 third downs, you get an extra 9 plays. That can be an extra 5 or 6 carries. Then you're approaching 20 right there if you continue the drive by getting those first downs. But if you don't, then there went some of those opportunities. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough. You want to get everybody the ball, and that's the good problem to have with Miami, because you have Brevin Jordan, the best tight end in America, who was only put on the the Athletics second team midseason All-American team, but like CBS, 247, all these other entities did not have them out there, even though he's leading all the tight ends in the nation in receiving yards and is the best tight end in the country. But whatever. But you have a Brevin Jordan, a Jeff Thomas, a Mark Pope, a KJ Osborne. D. Wiggins is stepping into a bigger role. Brian Hightower is still super talented. DJ Dallas, Cam Harris, even a Will Mallory. Like, there's so many guys to get the ball that somebody's going to get shortchanged. But in this instance where, I mean, you have a usage rate of almost 30% of the offensive plays went to DJ Dallas, I can't really say that he didn't get enough usage in this game. It's just the offense really wasn't rolling to the point where you had enough plays where his play count or his carry count would have gone higher than it was. So
we had 6 consecutive series for the Canes where they went 3 and out, 6 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And if my screen would advance, you get the point. It won't. But anyway, 6 consecutive fruitless series. The other one was a 5 and out and a 3 and out. So 6 consecutive fruitless series. 4 of them were 3 and outs, a 5 and out, a 6 and out. Yeah, you've chewed up a majority of the game, and there's not a whole lot of plays there.
And on top of that, before you go on, Virginia held the ball for over 34 minutes. So, honestly, if you look across the field, that's where DJ Dallas's carries or those things where, he would have gotten the ball more also went. The fact that we didn't convert and the fact that they did and ran, 72 plays, they ran 20 more plays. There it is.
Kim, I'd like to get to a question. We'll first go to the one on the screen about Amari Carter.
Oof.
The targeting hit right about the goal line. I think the ball was coming loose before he made contact with the Virginia receiver. I can't remember which one it was. It wasn't Joe Reed. I think it was
Dubois.
I'll get his name. But anyway, it was a tough one, as most of these are for these DBs, to try to make a split-second decision. And it looked like he really attempted to turn his shoulder into the receiver and avoid head contact. To me,
that's exactly what he did. He led with his shoulder. He's going in like this. The receiver turtled into the hit. There's nothing you can do. He went in through the midsection, and you see it, and it's absolutely clear. And then again, human physiology, human anatomy dictates that heads and shoulders are closely related. Like, look, you can see my shoulder is close to my head. That's just the way, the head bone's next to the neck bone to the, everybody knows that song. It's not like, his knee came up and hit him. Like, it's right here. It's a short distance. And he went in to make, just a Amari Carter standard hit. You've seen it from his high school highlights. You've seen it already here in Miami. He hits like a Mack truck. And that was in the opposite end zone. And we were down, and he hit him, and the whole stadium went, ooh. And I said, targeting. And everyone's like, no, that wasn't targeting. I said, they're going to call targeting. They're going to call it. It's bullshit. Like, where's he supposed to go? Because if you want to go lower, then you're going to go through knees, right? He didn't go high. He didn't go for the head. He went for the middle strike point, and then the guy turtles and everything. And now having helmets contact is not leading with the helmet. And that's the thing that they said, and that's blatantly false. He did not lead with the helmet. And again, I sat here and I said this last week. When Virginia Tech targeted N'Kosi Perry and led with the helmet, that call was not even let to stay as it was. It was overtly overturned in the opposite direction. And I said it then and I say it now. If it happens against Miami, it's fine. But if Miami incites that at a less egregious kind of way, that is what is upheld. And this has been seen time and time and time again. Even if you look back to the North Carolina game, if you look back to all these games, and again, within 1 week of each other. And I said it at the time. I said, they're going to overturn this one against N'Kosi Perry because they're going to say the helmet's touched, but it was unintentional. But then you got Amari Carter going in with a shoulder and the wide receiver turtling. So did their helmets touch? Yes. Did Amari Carter target and lead with his helmet? Absolutely not. So now you're going to want him to go through. You're going to want him to go through knees or ankles and try to injure somebody when his job as a single high safety, where the quarterback threw a hospital ball. He threw a post into a standing safety, a safety who's the biggest, baddest dude in the secondary, our hardest hitter. He threw a hospital ball directly at him and said, I hope that nothing bad happens. Come on, bro. Like, that was a terrible call. There's nothing else he could have done. He made an absolutely correct play. And these ACC refs, they continue to do this kind of a thing where if it's against Miami, it's okay. But if it's Miami doing it, even as a less egregious penalty, that's the one that gets called. I am not here to stand for that. And Amari Carter has to sit out the first half of this week because of that terrible goddamn call. And y'all have me as the hype fan of the week at the game. And I'm really trying to be judicious on this YouTube channel and not use 4-letter words, but I'm very close to it right now because that's the nature of my dissatisfaction with this continued officiating that goes against the teams that I root for. And I'm not even going to get into the Monday Night Football game with the Detroit Lions.
That's what came to mind when you were talking about that. So I allow the bad language to a certain extent.
Yeah,
But, YouTube jumps on me when there's too much.
Yeah,
Believe
no,
me,
this would have been too much.
it's amazing what their recordings pick up because, man, if somebody throws out an F word and I get a notification, there it goes. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
The thing I will say, Cam, is I cannot refute what you're claiming, but I also don't know that it's justified. I don't know. I'm saying I don't know. I'm not saying I don't know, meaning I'm refuting or
right. You're not dubious. You're just like
I just don't know. Do we actually have every team? If every official was completely honest and objective in any possible way, they're still going to make bad calls. It's just a fast game, and they're going to make bad calls. Do we know that they are making bad calls because of their disdain for Miami? Do we?
It is
really track this?
Look, it's too consistent for it to be written off as happenstance at this point to me. It's happened too many times for it to not to be something larger than just coincidence. And I even said it in the stands. At first glance in real time, just because Amari Carter destroyed that guy, you think, that has to be targeting. Because he hit, like a Mack truck, he hit him like a ton of bricks. But then you look at it, Reggie, get out of here. Brevin Jordan's the best tight end in America. Get out of here with this Kyle Pitts. Even though Kyle Pitts is very good, he's not as good as Brevin. He just happens to be 3.5 inches taller, but whatever. But on first glance, in real speed, real time, you can think, okay, that looks like, it was a car wreck. I can see why you would think that that's targeting. But upon review, like it wasn't even that the play stood as called, like, it was inconclusive to disallow that, so we got to go with it. No, you said this call is confirmed as right and targeting. Get out of here. Get out of here.
The helmets did hit, correct?
The helmets did touch. True. Yeah. But again, he's coming in like this with the shoulder.
Sure.
And then the guy, you don't want to get hit in the stomach, in the chest. So you see it out of the corner of your eye, and then the receiver turtles like that, and that's where they touched. But it wasn't leading with the helmet or anything. It was, no.
I'm not discounting Amari Carter's effort to get out of the way and lean the shoulder into it, and how those guys have adjusted their play as quickly as they have. I know that it's taken a few years, but a lot of the defensive players that do just that, I don't know how they've done that myself. They grew up playing a certain way, and then to ask them not to make it's not like you're sitting there with a piece of paper and a pencil and you've got 30 seconds to think about it and say, okay, we now want you to respond like this. No, like that. We want you to respond completely in a non-instinctual way. I'm impressed with the way that many of them on both levels of football that we watch, the NFL and college, are responding and being able to take their job and their role and their approach to hitting and be able to change and adjust that quickly.
You just drill it, honestly. And Manny Diaz has talked about that even from his time as defensive coordinator. You just have a way that you go about things and you drill it into them, just like anything else. So you react to what you see and you go about it in that kind of a way. Like I said, it's terrible that, that call was upheld. I don't fault them for throwing the initial flag at full speed. It was terrible that call was upheld. It's terrible that Amari Carter has to miss the first half of this game against Georgia Tech. It's terrible that he already has now a targeting on his record, so if he gets another one, then he has to miss in a full additional game, regardless of when he were to get called for another targeting foul. It doesn't sit right with me, but it is what it is.
So I'd like to get to three things here. Okay. Again, to remind everyone who we are, what we do here at the Voice of College Football. We're here every day posting college football content. For example, week 8 of college football, we have 13 game previews coming your way. And of course, Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Also, I see a number of comments, although I've not been able to grab one to get it onto the screen, from Alonzo1219. Zoe, we see you out there. We appreciate you stopping by and making your presence known. I also want to point Cam's attention to the screen. Virgilio, I hope I pronounced that correctly. We appreciate the contribution so much, more than you will know. How will Manny Diaz keep a highly ranked recruiting class with the record this season?
Keep winning games, first of all. Have a clear plan, second of all. Clear communication, third of all. Fourth, and along with I guess this is 3A. Just continue to cultivate those relationships that you've already built. Again, I speak about it every time that you guys ask about recruiting classes. There is a correlation to the win-loss record, but it's not a direct correlation, and it's not a causation either. There are teams with bad records who recruit very well. So you have to have a clear plan, and you have to be enacting that plan on a daily basis, from your evaluation to who you offer, to who you take commitments from, to all the, the ways that commitments work. Manny Diaz is talking about, he's, reworking how that things go, or how things go as a commit to Miami. And you see Jaden Francois decommitted because he's looking around. And, Manny Diaz said, look, if you're a commit here, you don't look around. But if you want to look around, decommit, and hey, go do you. Like, I'm not going to stop you from that, but there's just some procedures and protocols. So you really have to be very strong on those, believe them to your core and foundation, and then walk that path daily. So it does start with winning games. Again, that is your demonstrable work product, your proof of concept that you have of your program and your players and your player development and things like that, which is why, he's talking about N'Kosi Perry. Hey, this is player development. Mark Pope finally, breaking out, having some big games. That's player development with Taylor Stubblefield, the wide receivers coach, all kinds of things like that. So, you just have to be really consistent on that. And then just, communicating, using peer level recruits, the kids who are committed, talking to the other kids who are committed, put them in a group chat with a couple guys who are on the team, there's a variety of ways to go about it, but it has to be an active process, not a passive process, to get and keep players committed. And especially, with this recruiting class, we're going to need big numbers because we had small numbers last year. So we need quantity and quality. So you really got to keep working and pushing forward. Now, I know that a 3-3 start is probably not going to bode well for Darnell Washington, 5-star tight end. Justin Flo, I'd written him completely off, but he's coming down for an official visit, so we'll see if we can turn that tide. But, there's still plenty of other players out there, plenty of other Miami caliber players out there. And, this staff cannot be passive, by the wayside kind of guys. They got to be out there. They got to work it. You have to press the situation. And I think that's what Manny Diaz and company have to do to keep this class together, and then also add more players to the class as well.
For those of you that watch me on a regular basis, I don't like to be on the fence about anything. So I like to be decisive, but at the same time, I will not just have an opinion just to have an opinion if I don't know anything about the subject. So when it comes to the officiating going against Miami, again, I will neither argue with Cam, refute that, nor will I back him. The only reason I would back him is because he knows what he's talking about and certainly tries to be as objective as possible. And certainly I couldn't help but grab this screenshot to post. Don't kill me, please. I'm just a vibe. Dumbest comment ever. Cool.
Thanks for listening. Next question.
Okay. We got before we get to this question, and we've got two that have include a contribution, so we appreciate that. You know what? I'll go to those first because we'll save the Florida State decommit for just a second. But we got J Love on the line. 5 years. ACC has done nothing to fix officiating.
Nope. Sure haven't. I mean, whatever.
I greatly apologize. Again, understand the application. Once it's gone, it's gone. There was another contribution. I will acknowledge it because I'll go to YouTube on my other screen and find it, but I can't post it to the screen. Meanwhile, Jalen Harrell, a top 20 quarterback, listed right now in the Crystal Ball predictions by 247 Sports, 100% Miami, coming off a decommit from FSU.
Yeah, Jalen Harrell, he's a guy who was at Miami Central, transferred over to Champagnat Catholic School, and was committed to Florida State. Miami had been recruiting him before that, but he committed to Florida State. He just decommitted the other day. 6'2", 180, big, long, rangy guy. Probably profiles more as a safety than a cornerback. He's more of a 4'6", 4'7" kind of guy. So a little bit taller, but in the same kind of a mold as a Sheldrick Redwine, if you will. So maybe a year at corner at Miami, but he's probably going to move inside to safety at the collegiate level. But he's a guy that Miami would absolutely take. And, that's after having Jaden Francois decommit. That's after having the Hodges kid, Justin Hodges from Western decommit. And, I was not a big fan of Justin Hodges. He's a, guy who ran 4.9 at the, the Nike opening regional in the spring. And I'm sorry, but we cannot be having 4.9 corners at Miami. We just can't. And I mean, we've had guys with more athleticism who didn't have skills. And I mean, I think that Justin Hodges has some skills, but he doesn't have the athleticism. No, you can't in the ACC. And I mean, we got Alabama in 2 years. We got Michigan State next year. We got, Texas A&M coming up in his collegiate time. And we're supposed to put a 4.9 corner out there, even if he's playing cover 2 zone. Nah. But anyway, with Justin Hodges and Jaden Francois having decommitted, Jalen Harrell is a good option. He's a 4-star kid. He's from down here. Like I said, he went to Miami Central. I think he went somewhere before Central. I don't know where, but I think he went to Central. He's at Champagnat now. Champagnat, which is where Gregory Rousseau went to school, and several other guys. I mean, it's whatever. They put guys in FBS level programs. So yeah, I mean, if he wants in, I'm taking Jalen Harrell. Now there's another Jalen Harrell with a Y in his name, Jaylen, who's a defensive end out of Tampa. He's supposed to be taking an official visit way later, like after the season. But Jalen, this one, Jaylen, no Y in his name. Yeah, he's a guy that Miami, I mean, look, if he wants in, I mean, he should have a spot. Like this, these are the kind of players that you should have and should want to have on your team. Now, I think that Miami needs more cornerbacks, guys who can actually play on the outside in this class. And we'll see. Jaden Francois, we'll see if he wants to come back. And come back to this class for a third time and commit to Miami. And, some of the chatter on the trail is Ohio State, which is where he was thought to be going, took a commitment from a All-American cornerback last weekend. So they're full at defensive back right now. So there's no spot for him in Columbus. He visited Florida, Jaden Francois did a couple of times. They haven't offered him yet. So there's no spot for him there yet. But there's good old Miami, and he's committed here twice. He's now decommitted twice. We'll see what happens. But Jalen Harrell, the one from Champagnat, 6'2" DB. If he wants in, I'll take him. The other one at a defensive end, we'll see how that works out later. Jaden Francois, if he wants to come on back home for a third time, I mean, okay, it's fine. I mean, look, I'm not going to turn him down because he's the kind of talent that Miami needs on the roster. But recruiting is always a fluid concept. There's always movement going on, even to and through signing day. So I appreciate those questions. I love talking about it. But just take this as a snapshot in time on October the 16th, but not necessarily as the gospel truth, because something could happen, in tomorrow, a week, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months. So we'll see what happens.
If you love Miami football, I think you basically do two things here. You contribute to what we do here with Cam each and every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. You get yourself on over to State of the U the rest of the week to check out their content as they prep you for each and every game. And now that the Canes have dropped Virginia, this Coastal Division race is for real. It's in the thick of things. Obviously, Miami's a game behind, but they got to keep winning. And there are a number of teams. There's really nobody other than Georgia Tech out of it. It could be a muddled and very confusing but fun race to watch in November with all these teams playing each other. And certainly jump on over to State of the U as they get you set with the very best in Miami football coverage, prepping you for each and every game down the stretch, Florida State included. And again, if you love what we do here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, even if you don't agree with me, because I certainly spin the analysis each and every day, but you love what we do and bringing on the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the nation, and analysis from myself. 13 game previews this week, plus all the other stuff we do, the top 25 that actually makes sense, and all the betting line previews and everything else we do. Please lock it in right here. Subscribe, like, comment, share the videos as well. Matt Cruz, we appreciate your contribution so much. Came across a tweet that speaks to the flavor or lack thereof of the Miami offense. Cam. Yeah,
that was my boy Roman Kane. He tweeted that. He's good for those one-liner kind of dad joke tweets. But I mean, he's he's good and smart. I mean, like I'll talk to him about football and about life in general. I mean, he's a good friend of mine, very, very intelligent guy. But yeah, he said, Enos's offense is not vanilla. It's just the wrong flavor. At times, yeah. And it just is, it is what it is, and I give Enos credit for trying some things, even against Virginia. The speed option to the short side of the field, the tight end jet sweep in second and goal to Brevin Jordan. That was when I was on that end of the field before, right after the Dunkin' Donuts thing that I did, the hype fan of the week. A couple other things, like he's tried to add in some new flavors, some different wrinkles. They haven't always worked, but I mean, I appreciate the effort in endeavoring to try new things. But I guess we just got to go back to the drawing board and continue to figure out which things are actually going to be beneficial and successful for the offense moving forward.
We have yet to talk about Georgia Tech. They certainly are not a factor in the ACC right now. They are playing better as of late. Certainly, Jeff Collins has a decent reputation for building football programs and has been capable in other stops. At the same time, yeah, Georgia Tech, this is all about Miami in regards to this game. It reminds me of a conversation I had earlier this week with somebody in Alabama prep against Tennessee, that it seems like the better the team you're facing, the more about the rhetoric leading into the game obviously is about the opponent rather than just let's take care of business and we'll be fine if we play up to snuff. A number of people commented in the live chat just about basically, well, we're going to win this game and move on. Well, let's not get full of ourselves in regards to, yes, you are much better than Georgia Tech, but you got to show up and play.
We're much better than Virginia Tech. We're much better than North Carolina. Lost those teams, so you cannot go out there and, again, just be smelling yourselves, reading your press clippings, looking at your recruiting rankings and everything and whatnot. You got to go out there and you got to earn it. If you are so much better than your opponent, go prove it and then go dance on the sideline. That's what Miami teams, when Miami was great, that's what we did. We didn't take anybody lightly. We didn't play down really to any opposition. There were a couple times where somebody might scheme against us. Virginia Tech, Boston College, in the national championship year with the Ed Reed touchdown return, they schemed up a way to try to curtail or try to shrink the gap, the disparity of talent.
Yep.
But all those games, all these dudes who you all know are legends of the game in college and the pros, a lot of these guys are going to be Hall of Famers. They went out there, handled business for 2.5, 3 quarters, then went to the sideline and had a party while the third and fourth string went out there and did the same thing. And to get back towards that level, that's what this team is going to need to do this week. There is no reason on God's green earth for Georgia Tech to be within 2-3 touchdowns of Miami. Not this year. Not with the way that where the programs are, the talent, the scheme. There's no reason for that. So Miami, it is incumbent upon us to go out there and prove it by breaking tackles, by making plays, by scheming up and executing what is out there, taking advantage of the advantages that will be there, because there should be many, because we are a bigger, better, faster, stronger team, to go out there and put those points on the board. And that's how you earn that kind of a thing. But on Wednesday night right now, no. Again, I say it all the time. You've heard me say this so many times. You've been watching these. Respect all opponents, but fear none. And it's not even that we should fear or not fear them. We should not take them lightly. We should not overlook any. So we respect this opponent. We prepare like it's Florida State, Florida, Clemson, national championship game, whatever you want to call it. You prepare that way every week. You go out and you play to that level. And that's when you'll be demonstrating that you are a good Hurricanes team and a team worthy of that kind of conversation moving forward.
So Hurricane Logan, we don't have a whole lot of time, but I want to pay respect and recognition to a number of people here. Hurricane Logan with a number of comments, nothing in particular that needed to be passed on in regards to questions, just providing his support and encouragement. So we appreciate that. Hurricane Logan. Also, J Love T again, I guarantee 9-3 Nicosi will win out. And please remind people, Nicosi is only a redshirt sophomore. People act like he is a senior.
Yeah, I mean, Nkosi has been around for 3 years, obviously, as a redshirt sophomore. I hope that you are right, that, Miami wins out and goes 9-3. Manny Diaz continues to say that Jaron Williams is the guy, regardless of what happens. I don't agree with that, because people lose jobs to injury all of the time. And, I think that this is a great game, or could be a great game, for Nkosi to come out and really put his foot down towards continuing to be QB1 for this team. But we'll see what happens.
I respect that approach to a certain extent, that you can't lose your job due to injury. But let's say you're the starting quarterback or starting position player in whatever role, and you are playing at a 6 level, if we could grade from 1 to 10. Your number 2 player after this injury comes in and they play to a 9 level. Well, you're not going to yank them just to say, well, you lost your job because of injury. Maybe you did initially, but the comparison and evaluation of the performance isn't that close. So you lost your job.
And I mean, we will see what happens. 863 Kane, I appreciate the comments. Salute to me for criticizing without undermining. I try to be fair, even when I'm critical of people and things. And speaking of which, again, this is like the second or third week in a row I'm going to say this in a positive way. After Amari Carter got bounced for that bogus targeting call, Robert Knowles came in and played well. And I was loudly saying that he couldn't be on this field anymore for the last couple of years. And if you talk about player development, number 20 is developed like a lot. And he's not been he's taken a big step forward. And I want people to realize and recognize that and give him credit for putting in the work to incite that development that we've seen this year. Because if you look back through all the plays, you're not looking at him on people's highlights, with the other teams scoring touchdowns like in years past. He's doing his job and he's doing it pretty well. So salute to Robert Knowles for really sticking it out and putting in the work to develop and become a much better player. And I appreciate that.
I only have 2 quick things to say, then I'll turn it over to Cam to close it out, because we are running a little bit long, but I think that these are important. First of all, I mentioned this site last week, MiamiMoneyball.com. It's basically a fantasy site that focuses on Florida teams, Miami in particular. So that's your site, MiamiMoneyball.com. You make your selections on certain statistical categories, 12 stat categories, Georgia Tech, Miami. You can win prizes and all sorts of good stuff right there. So I encourage you to check that out. And also, just basically, I see it with the number of people that contribute in the super chat. And if you're unable to, that is certainly not any kind of requirement at all. We appreciate just you watching, liking the videos, doing all those good things. But for those people that contribute a few bucks, I just thank you so much. And I know Cam does as well. And just kind of catch the vision of what we're trying to do here and trying to build. Just catch the vision, and just imagine if you take the 300 plus that were online tonight, and that will be expanded out to about 4,000 that eventually watch the video, and you talk about 1 or 2 people or the collection of people contribute to a small degree, then we could do so much here. You just can't imagine. Cam, take it away.
Yeah, man. So appreciate everybody watching. I'm just going to keep it real quick. I am the managing editor of stateoftheu.com. So we're there 24/7, 365, talking about Miami Hurricane sports. Mainly football and basketball, but we're trying to get baseball and women's basketball, because they're going to be a really good team, and other sports also covered. So stateoftheu.com is where you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We are at The State of the U. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports. Come on over, come onto the website, come fan with us. Let's have a good time.
Thanks, everyone. Ohio State football talk coming up next. Cam, we'll see you next week.
Sounds good to you.